Hello everyone! I am so excited to paint this fast fish with you. I see Karen and Karita already are waiting and some others, I'm sure. Thank you for being here with me. And as you can see, I kind of set up my screen, optimized it. We have our reference photo ready, we have our painting ready, and we have my face. So I wanted to, just in case anybody's joining me who's new, just mention that everything I'm using is in the Paint 333 supply list. So if you're new and you just kind of are like, what kind of paint are you using? What kind of paper are you using? What is that water bucket in your brushes? It's all in there, and you can get that at paint333.com for free. I am using Fabriano Studio 140 pound cold press paper today. So love this stuff. It's just really, really, really nice. And Michelle finished Leo the Shepherd. Oh, that painting was so fun. And I'm really excited too because those dog paint-alongs are long. They're kind of intense and they're an investment of your time. So these fish paint-alongs are just a lot of fun too, especially because they're great for beginners and they're great for everybody to practice their skills painting fast and loose. Tons of fun. So I'm really happy you're here with me. We're gonna have a lot of fun with this one. If you're curious, I had a question about what do you use if you don't have buff titanium, because in today's painting we're using 4 colors. We're using ultramarine blue, opera pink, which is also called wild fuchsia, rich opera, even quinacridone magenta. Those are all the same. And then we're also using azo yellow and then buff titanium. If you don't have buff titanium, you can substitute it with a different white like Chinese white or titanium white, or you can just create some waterier mixes. Or you can just have them be really bright and vibrant. You don't need buff titanium, but it's fun to use. And I think it's worth the investment to buy a tube of that. Personally, I absolutely love it. The other thing is, if you were painting along and I had somebody wondering, like, what do I substitute for 300 pound paper? Because 300 pound paper is very expensive. And yes, it is very expensive. If you really want to use 300 pound paper, New York Central Art Supply on Jerry's Artorama is an inexpensive 300 pound paper option. Otherwise, you can use the paper we're already using for this paint along, the Fabriano Studio 140 pound cold press paper. Love that paper. I've done commissions on that paper. I paint on that paper all the time. We're painting on it today. Fabulous paper for the kind of style of painting that I like to do and that style that I like to teach. All right, so we had one more question that I wanted just to address. Somebody said, I start off loose and then I kind of end up tight. And there could be some of you that do the opposite. Maybe you start out kind of tight and then you end up loose. I think it's maybe a matter of knowing when to stop and kind of maybe even just taking a break and letting yourself have a minute before you come back to it, and then seeing your painting with fresh eyes, and then just kind of planning your painting ahead of time. Plan those tight and controlled areas, and for me that's always like the eyes and the nose, and then plan the looser areas like the body and the ears. So planning that ahead of time, it'll just give you a more relaxed way to paint when you get to painting. So you're not making those decisions while you paint, you're just enjoying the painting process because you've already made those decisions beforehand. And hello everybody from Georgia and Virginia and Sweden and California. This is amazing. So let's fill out our painting planner, and this, and of course the reference photo and the tracing are all in the video's description. Today we are painting the pink fish. The other cool thing about this painting planner, of course it helps you when you're painting, but the other cool thing is it helps you afterwards, because if you want to replicate something that you did in a previous painting, but you don't remember how you did it, maybe you can come back to this painting planner and say, oh, I used this color and this technique to get that outcome. And that can help you down the road. I know a lot of people keep like painting journals for that very reason. And the mood, I don't know, I was thinking bright, although I'm using some buff titanium, it'll be a little muted, but that's the word that came to my mind for the mood I'm going for this fish. And let's see, I'm gonna start with the eye, and we'll be using really heavy mix of ultramarine blue to get that as dark as possible. You could absolutely just go for a neutral tint or a black color in that eye. That would look really good. But because I thought we'd have fun with just 4 colors, I'm going to be using ultramarine blue. And then, let's see, I'll probably do I'll probably just do some details around the eye, so like face details. And then I was thinking we'll do a nice pink along the middle of the body. And then we can pull color. So we'll just do, and we're gonna do some green at the bottom. And then we'll basically be kind of, as we go, we'll be pulling color with our palette knife into the fins. And then we'll be kind of scraping some of those fin reflections. And then I also really want to try my hand at color resist with orange at the top. So right above that fish's eyes, this pop of orange. And I'm going to see if we can time it so we can get color resist right there. That's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll try for that. So let's see, and then green at the bottom, and then as we go, we're kind of doing these things in tandem. And then we can finish that out with any other details. I also want to think about the reflections, like the scales along the top of the fish could be really pretty. And that's kind of also, we're kind of pulling color for that too. So we're doing these things in tandem, but it's kind of nice to plan it out and think, oh, when I see this part of the fish, I know what I'm going to do. For the fins, I'll be scraping or pulling color. For the scales, I'll be scraping and pulling color. For that pop of orange, we're going to try color resist. Really, really fun. So let's just see if we can get a little bit of an idea of the colors we're going to be using. I have it here so you can see my buff titanium right here, my azo yellow right here, my opera pink right here, and my ultramarine blue right here. And I have this well cleaned out in case I want to try and mix up a color beforehand. I normally, if I can, try to mix my colors on the paper itself. And somebody asked me, does it matter what order you apply the color? Say if you're putting purple, mixing a purple on your paper. Should I do opera pink first or should I do ultramarine blue first? And I don't think it matters. I just kind of do whatever's on my brush first. So you don't have to overthink it. But sometimes when you're working in a smaller space, this isn't super small, so we can try to mix it on the paper too. But if you are, it can be helpful to mix your colors ahead of time in your palette before you put them on your paper. Just so otherwise you might not have enough room to really mix and do the things that we want them to do. So let's mix up this pretty pink that I'm hoping to achieve. And that will just be our opera pink. And I'm going to mix that with some buff titanium to get it kind of muted. If you don't have buff titanium or a white alternative, you can just make like a watery mix of opera pink. The downside with that is that techniques like pulling color and scraping will be harder just because you don't have as much pigment on the paper. It's more water than pigment. That will be the challenge in doing it that way. So I don't know, I might even put more buff titanium, but you can play around with that once we start painting. And then we have this pretty green at the bottom. So that will just be our azo yellow and a little bit of ultramarine. And we can get a pretty green happening at the bottom of the fish. And then of course we have that pop of orange, which will be our pink, and our azo yellow. And what I want to do for sure with something like color resist is have that in my palette before I put it on my paper. And we'll get to that. So those are really fun. Those are really fun colors. I'm really happy with our plan. I'm super excited. Thank you all. This is so cool. Yeah, it's so fun to be on time and be doing it live. But if you are joining in late, just rewind. You can rewind live videos. You can pause live videos. You just can't skip ahead to wherever we're already at. So thank you, Michelle. This is so sweet. If you're reading Michelle's comment, she's just saying that this painting along with us, this watercolor community, has helped her through a difficult time, which is amazing. Michelle, thank you. Look at this. It leaked through my painting. I don't know, I'm gonna leave that there. We'll deal with it. But I've been just surprised because I didn't know. I've taught kids watercolor before. I've taught plenty of kids. Oh my gosh, so many kids. And that's always fun, more because I just really like kids. Because kids make messes and they aren't really there to learn watercolor, they're there to have fun. But so I was always kind of curious, like, how would I like teaching adults? And although I'm not really teaching in person yet, I'm just on YouTube, I've been having the best time just listening to everything you're emailing me and all the comments, and just feeling like we are this little community, and feeling like we're painting together and we're doing something fun together, and hopefully you're learning a lot and growing and just enjoying it, because watercolor is just so fresh and I love it. And I obviously all of you are enjoying it too. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. That really means a lot, Michelle. That's really sweet. And I'm so happy that it has had made such a difference for you in a hard time. And just know that you'll be in my prayers, because I'm a Jesus person, so I like to pray for people too. All right, we're gonna go with our heavy mix of ultramarine blue, and I have what do I have here? My Princeton silver black velvet. Is it a Princeton? It might not be a Princeton. I don't know. It's my silver black velvet brush. So if you look that up, silver black velvet, you'll get the right brush. And it's a size 6 round. The thing I like about this brush is it comes to a really nice fine point, although I do think I'm kind of hard on my brushes, and I think maybe it's wearing out a little bit. So if that happens, you might just need to get a new brush. And I'm kind of just creating my own little highlights. I don't ever really see highlights in fish eyes, but I still think they can look really good if you add them in yourself. So it's a super heavy mix so it looks almost like it's black, which is really cool that ultramarine is able to do that. So let's see now, we could do some pretty kind of face details here. And then what we could do too, we could finish out this eye. So I already have some azo yellow on my brush. I'm gonna go ahead and finish out the eye, but I'm gonna be really careful not to touch that dark ultramarine blue that we already painted. Although if you do touch it, it could just bleed into this colorful outline of the eye area that we're painting right now, and that could look really cool. So if that happens, because it could happen to me, sometimes I'm kind of a fast, clumsy painter. So we're just doing, I have another size 6 round I'm laying this down with. Heavy mix of azo yellow all around the eye here. And I love, the other reason not to touch the pupil that we painted is because it has this beautiful highlight around it, and we want to maintain that. All right, let's see. I'm just gonna see what happens. I'm gonna put a little bit of blue in here, and I'm gonna put a little bit of buff titanium, and see how that kind of mixes around. And I might just let that hang out and babysit it. So when I say babysit, we're just gonna kind of keep an eye on it as it's drying to see if there's any other ways we can manipulate it as we go. All right, so let's continue on. I'm gonna just do, again, some more azo yellow, painting some of these details around the eye, some of these pretty shapes of the gills. I think could be a lot of fun. Let's see, I'm not gonna get orange quite yet. Let's grab another. I have a lot of size 6 brown brushes, and I do this because that way I don't have to clean between each color. I have like a color on each of my brushes. So this should be all we need, because we're working with 4 colors and now we have 4 paintbrushes. So some of this will probably get lost as we put our washes down, and that's just fine. It'll happen. And we can just come back in. I got buff titanium now, and I'm kind of letting these two become one shape in a way, blending it together. The other thing that could be helpful for us to have, I only have another size 2, it's kind of tiny, but I do like having a brush that I can use just for water, either for softening edges or blending the colors, or just simply for popping some water into a shape that we already painted, which is a lot of fun. All right, let's go ahead and just have fun here. I have a flat, 3/4 inch flat, and I have a nice, it's very wet. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a nice stripe of water down the middle, and I'm hoping you can kind of see this. I'm gonna just put some paint in here so you can really see it. I think it would be cool. Kind of making it bigger towards the top. A nice big pool. We want a nice big pool of water here. And I'm gonna just kind of go taper it towards that back fin. It's really quite the pool. It's intense. Let's do our heavy mix on our pink brush and just make a nice little stripe right down the body. And we're probably gonna have to tap it in a little bit too, because it's such a big pool of color. I need more pigment in there. There we go. And then towards the top, let's put some yellow on the top, kind of right on that top edge. A little bit more. And then on the bottom, we have this pretty kind of grayish green. So I have my ultramarine brush, and it already has ultramarine on it. I dipped it in water to get it watery. And I'm going to just pull some of that water down into this area too, and see what happens. I touched this shape too because I'm not afraid to let these kind of areas blend into each other, leaving some little white shapes as we go. And then I want to put a little bit more water down here. Now I'm going to come in with some more yellow while this is wet, and maybe we can achieve some of this green happening down here. And the other thing I'd like to do is even more buff titanium. So I'm just gonna pop some in there and let it swirl around. It's really quite the pool right here that maybe it's mixing a little bit more than I wanted. So I'm just gonna grab a little bit of that water. But I do love when it does this, and I think this is the magic. So we don't want to discourage that too much. But that also lifted some of my color off, so I'm just going to come in again with some more pink and some more yellow near the top, and just some more water too. Okay, I don't want to go all the way up there because I am hoping to pull some color for the reflections. Let's see, the other thing I wanted to do too is I'm gonna just lay down some water right here and touch these yellow areas and see if we can just make a little bit of a colorful yellow shape up here that's wet, so that we can come in and do color resist in a little bit. So I'm going to pull this down into this gill shape here too. And I'm leaving a little bit of a white outline around that eye as well. I think that looks nice. So we'll come back to this. Hopefully we can catch that sweet spot and come back to it when we're ready. Okay, so let's see. We have a little bit of time here. I'm just making sure we still have enough water to pull right here. So let's try it. Let's just see if we can pull some of these scale. And that's looking really fun. I might want a little bit more. Where's my ultramarine brush? Here it is. Just a tiny bit more, mostly water. There we go. I'm just going to see what that does here. And and then keep pulling those scale shapes down. And I'm kind of tracing over the areas I already pulled since I added that ultramarine color. And then I'm just putting some dots of that. My kind of every color is on this brush right now. It's a little bit muddy, but I kind of think it looks kind of neat. So I'm just adding some dots. And we're kind of color resisting over there already. That's pretty fun. So where are we at? This is looking really cool. I'm gonna pull some of this green into this little fin that he has. And what we can do later is we can kind of glaze too, which could look really neat. All right, I'm gonna pull some of this up with the flat side of my palette knife because it wasn't quite all the way up there. And then we can pull this pretty pink. So very similar ways to do the fins. And just really encouraging that water to continue traveling down these scraped lines. All right, the other thing I want to do is, if we can, I have my plain wet brush, and it's really blotted. And we're going to see if we can just catch this yellow, a little bit of this yellow, and catch the texture of the paper here and make it look reflective. There we go. I like that. So it caught it a little bit. And I'm just putting a little bit more down. Okay, this looks like it's ready for that color resist orange. So I'm gonna mix that up here with my pink and my yellow. Oh wow, how pretty is that? Maybe even a little bit more yellow. And we're gonna just make this pretty shape and let it push some of this paint around. And I caught the eye up there. I caught it right here too. So lots of fun things are happening. It's a little too wet, I feel like. Maybe we jumped the gun a little bit on that. But that's all right, that happens. So the only thing is, this area is really dry, and I was hoping to still pull color for this top fin. So what I think I'm gonna do instead is I'm still gonna pull color, but I just gotta lay down some color first. So I have buff titanium, nice and wet, and then some of this pink. And just putting it right at the base of that top fin. And we'll see if we can pull some of that color up. The other thing, I don't know, I'm just gonna see what happens if I let it flow a little bit down. This is looking quite bright. I think our adjective was spot on, but it's very, I don't know, it looks very tropical, kind of, in a cool way. Okay, that looks fun. Maybe we'll get some pretty blooms happening too. That looks really good. I want to refine. So I'm just going to take a blotted brush and see if I can kind of, hopefully you didn't do this and have your painting plan soak through to your fish, but I'm just kind of lifting it off and softening it right here and pulling some other color into that area. I'm going to grab some more buff titanium and put it down there too. And I like how that is kind of just making it look a little bit more refined. So I went ahead and kind of dragged it all along that bottom edge of the fish for a little bit more detail. I like how that looks. And I'm even kind of bringing it down into this fin too. So this is more of a glazing because this is dry. And this is very wet over here, so I'm just pulling some of that in there too. Maybe they can blend down here. But I like some of those white shapes, so I don't want to cover those up though too much. Let's see, what do I got on my brush? I'm going to come in. I have another heavy mix of buff titanium. This is on my size 2, so the same thing I did right here. I'm just going to see if I can kind of cover up some of those pencil marks and give myself some prettier edges here. That's the cool thing too about buff titanium, is that opacity gives you a little bit of like mistake correcting power, which can be really fun. This is nice. This is so nice. This is so cool. These little bits, these little areas, and you can see how buff titanium pushed that color to the edges right here on the eye. I hope it dries like that. I hope it dries in a really pretty cool way. But some of these this orange didn't really behave like I wanted it to with the color resist. And I don't know. I don't think I like how that kind of looks. So you can just soften and lift, and obviously yours will look different than mine too, because we got different paints and different amounts of water. Hopefully it's doing cool things that you're enjoying the outcome. But what I'm going to do is just put water in here too anyway. We're going to turn color resist into water resist, which I always like the look of, and it's a lot easier than color resist because it just you have more control, I feel like. So I'm putting it into this shape right here, and also pushing the pigment that's already on the paper around and kind of lifting it off. And mixing it with this pink that we have down here. Maybe you can do some fun things. I'm gonna put some water down here too, because I kind of want that to mix prettier. Okay, so dropping in a little bit of water, and maybe it can push this pigment around in a pretty way. I think that'll dry beautifully. I'm going to go over this white shape with a little bit of water and soften that too. And lift it. So now it's just a matter of babysitting how some of these shapes and colors are blending and drying, and to see if you like what it's doing. You could also, a lot of watercolor artists love salt, so this would be a fun time to put some salt in the wet area of your fish. It would probably give it some cool reflective, scaly type properties. That could be a lot of fun. I haven't actually ever demoed salt on my channel yet, so I could do that. Actually, I did with a really long time ago when I first started my YouTube channel. When my son was born, I did these Watercolor Wednesdays episodes. Those are still on my channel too, but I did demo like a Yupo sunflower and use some salt. But I don't use salt very often. I think it looks really good in purposeful applications, like, because it creates a really unique, specific, predictable effect. And if that's what you're going for in your painting, it can be really cool. Okay, we are also going to scrape some reflected fin shapes. Let's see if we can do that here. It's kind of looking like maybe it'd be ready. It's still pretty wet, so right now it's actually just kind of putting the pigment into this shapes that we're scraping. But you want to do like a hint of scraping. At least for me, I always get carried away and I can easily scrape too much, and then it kind of loses its impact and it just takes over from that loose, fresh feeling of the painting. So you want both. You want all those different things. Yeah, the Fabriano paper, Mary, you're totally right. It's worth it, especially because it is so inexpensive. I'm gonna see what happens when I touch those two together. See how the water blends right there. But yes, I love this studio paper. I think it's partly because I like Yupo paper, which is 100% synthetic, and so the paint kind of just behaves a little bit differently because it doesn't absorb so fast because of all that cellulose in it. And so it does really cool things. Okay, the only other thing I think I want to try is maybe just refining this shape. So I still have some residual buff titanium on this brush. I'm going to grab some of that pretty orange and maybe I can kind of, I want to keep some of this white though, because I think that'll look really cool. So I'm just really having a lot of fun with the buff titanium and letting that kind of go where it wants to, and then adding water too. Water is just your best friend with creating these techniques that make people say, how did they do that? How did they paint it like that? And you're all like, it's just water. It's just crazy. Okay, I softened it up here. I love adding water. We're pushing the pigment when we add this water. We're kind of pushing it to the edges and making it look really cool. And I could try adding, let's see, all my brushes are getting muddled. I'm gonna see if I can grab a really heavy mix on a nice blotted brush, so not a lot of water, but a lot of pigment. This is what we would do if we were doing color resist. I might put some over here and just see what happens. It's really kind of just going over the pigment we already laid down. It's not really pushing it, which is technically what that color resist technique is. But these little dots here are kind of neat that I wanted to maybe lean into that a little bit, even though the fish doesn't really have that in the reference photo. I kind of liked what I was seeing happening. And that's the cool thing about just babysitting your painting and seeing what's going on, and maybe you can even emphasize the cool things that you see happening. I'm gonna pull that down here, maybe glaze just a little bit. really love it. I feel like it's kind of done. I think it would be kind of fun. We obviously I did, because I'm pretty messy. I got some splatter already, but I'm wondering if some ultramarine blue, a really heavy mix of ultramarine, and then on a brush that I just kind of scrape along the palette, so there's not like a whole pool of paint on my brush right now, because I want a little bit of control, because splatter's always a little bit scary. So I'm covering up parts that I don't want there to be any splatter on. And I'm trying to think. Sorry about that. I don't like to have too much splatter. And I try to keep it so it doesn't just kind of turn into sprinkles all over. Let's see. Okay. I do like that a lot. And then maybe I could do a really watery kind of pink too. Might look pretty. It's just a couple more strategic splatters. There was already a little bit of water right there, so I'm just putting some color in it. But this is really beautiful, and it's different. It's different than my original vision. Hold on one second. But it's different. Yeah, it's different than my original vision, but I love it. So really cool. I would say we had success with this because the buff titanium did a lot of work for us, and the water. So putting that water in there, pushing the pigment out, letting these shapes touch in certain sections or wherever they touched by accident. That looks really cool. Just a lot of fun. So you're going to want to make sure you sign your painting, which I think always makes it look a little bit more complete. And I don't know, I probably would maybe go in and erase like this top fin edge, maybe even these fin edges, and give it more of a disappearing kind of into the background. I might not be able to erase this. We'll see once it dries. Watercolor over pencil lines, it's hard to erase them once they're over your pencil lines. Okay, that was fun. That was really fast. We did that in about half an hour. That's why I love fish. So we will probably likely do a fish every month. But I have learned a lot this month. In January, we had that whole 30-day beginner program. And then throughout this month of February, we were really focusing on dogs. And that was really fun, but it's a lot. Those paint-alongs are pretty long and intense. And so I think I want to incorporate faster paint-alongs in March, and I had a lot of subjects that all of you sent me. I know we were talking about like an owl and a fox and horses and cats, and horses are big, but I am going to do it big. So I'm hoping to kind of do a mix next month in March of shorter and longer paint-alongs, and then of course a couple other videos that I think would do well. With YouTube specifically, you need to think about things that might attract new audiences to grow your channel. And so I know like when I do supply review videos or specific technique videos, those help me attract new people. And then my live paint-alongs kind of are more nurturing for the audience that I already have. So I'm going to try to do that because I think that's what's working. And then if you all got my email that came out yesterday and today about the poll for a membership, I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to do with that. I think it would be really nice to offer a community piece for all of you to share your artwork and kind of get feedback from other artists that are learning alongside you and not just from me. So there's a piece to that I'm thinking of. And right now I'm thinking I'll offer like different tiers so it can be affordable all the way up to like a lot more like one-on-one even with me kind of an offer. We'll see. But either way, even if like a membership isn't either you can't do it for time reasons or for affordability, whatever it is, I'm going to be on YouTube. And you can always email me, and I'm here to help you, and leave a comment and all those good things. And a betta fish, I do have, actually somebody sent me a picture of their betta fish, and it's really beautiful. So we should definitely do a betta fish coming up too, because they're all fins. Just a ton of fun. I love the fish with those big eyes, like this one, the pink fish. So this was a ton of fun. I feel like it was too fast, like we should be done already. Oh, I should write down a salt demo. I've seen people use salt in some gorgeous ways with like landscapes, and then texture for kind of fur texture too. And obviously it's so great for foliage, and there's a lot of ways you can use it. So I'm hoping maybe I can kind of give you some really good ideas of things that I've seen, because I've seen a lot. I've been painting for a really long time. Some people are really creative with how they've used salt. So thank you, Linda. Thank you for everybody, for all the kind words. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you again on Thursday in 2 days. We have our last live, or our last video of February. I'm going to release the March video calendar so you know what's coming in March. And I'm going to showcase some student art that has been sent to me. We're going to pick the February Supply Surprise giveaway winner. I have to get all that up on my website. But I have a better system for March. So you guys can keep sending me your art, but it's going to look a little different in March. So yeah, a lot of fun on Thursday. And then I'm going to demo curly hair. So like a really specific curly hair demo, curly dog hair demo. So especially because this month was dog month, and we didn't really touch on that. But we'll be doing dogs. I do dogs all the time, so I'll always have those to share with you. That's it for today. Thank you so much. This was so much fun, and I'm really excited for Thursday. So I will see you then. As always, I am available to reach. I read all your comments and your chats and your emails, so send me whatever, and I will be getting back to you. Thank you so much. Happy painting.